You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sorry, I got really bad allergies. 1-877-DOC-DAHLIA, 1-877-DOC-DALI. And interestingly, you're seeing all these articles and everybody talking about, doctors are saying to have sex because that'll help your allergies. And I understand, if many people have an Obamacare plan, right, and it's too expensive to go to the doctor, they're going to try to find things to do at home. But we spoke about this on the show years ago, where there was a study suggesting that sex could help alleviate your allergy symptoms. But as we discussed, it's temporary. So what they're talking about is, like when I go to work out and I go to the gym, I breathe better as long as I don't have to wear a mask like we had to in COVID. So I breathe better. And the reason why is your sympathetic nervous system is kicking in. With your sympathetic nervous system, you get vasoconstriction and you get bronchodilation. Your airways have to expand or allow more air to come in and out. And then the vasoconstriction helps decrease the congestion. So that's why, unfortunately, all these medications that you see over the counter, like Afrin, things like that, there's some pathomimetics where they constrict blood vessels. And if they constrict blood vessels, you feel less pressure, less fluid in there, and then you feel like you dry up. Unfortunately, things wear off. And when it wears off, you get the rebound congestion. Same thing with like Visine, gets the red out with the eyes. They're vasoconstrictors. So when you really constrict those blood vessels, now your eyes look really white. But then the medicine wears off and then zoom, the eyes can get red again. So interestingly, the study came out, I think it was 2019. 2019. And Dr. Sina Zarrington is a neurologist and author of the study, was published in the journal Medical Hypothesis, and said sex could be done from time to time to alleviate the congestion, and the patient can adjust the number of intercourses depending on the severity of the symptoms. Okay, well, if that's the case, my allergies are so bad. I mean, we're going to be talking every 5 minutes. The sympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic part of our nervous system is that fight-flight. Which just telling my husband he has to have sex with me to help me with my allergies, he's already on fright and flight. I mean, he's on a flight. He's like, I'm out of here. But the parasympathetic nervous system is when after your fright response and after the excessive physical activity. And that's when, unfortunately, you could get rebound congestion. So, yes, maybe temporarily you'll get some relief. And mind you, sex, great. I'm a fan. But in terms of to really manage your allergies, if you're really struggling with allergies, have somebody take a look at you. We have a lot of options out there. As I told you, allergies are a defense mechanism. There's so much pollen and dust. We got the tree pollens in January, and then you start getting, the flower pollens and then the weed. And you could get allergies throughout the year. But this time for me is just brutal when things bloom and I live in the desert, so I live in southern Nevada, and so things bloom quicker because the weather is warmer. I mean, I think it got up to 80 degrees last week. It was crazy. So you see the cherry blossoms in bloom and cactus flowers in bloom, but they all come with pollen. And even if you've lived in that area, you'll still get allergies. Why? Because your body doesn't want that in your system. So it tries to sneeze, cough it out. You get runny eyes, itchy eyes. It's a defense mechanism. So many of us will go to antihistamines because the histamines are released as a response to allergies. And so your Claritin or your Zyrtec or your Zizal or Allegra, and those work great. The Benadryl, which is like an H1, the Benadryl antihistamine is very sedating. So a lot of people will use that more at night to control nighttime allergies because it'll help them sleep. But remember I told you there were studies where if you're taking antihistamines often for sleep, that could affect your longevity. It could affect a lot of your bodily processes, could even put you at risk for dementia. So I don't like to take a lot of Benadryl. I love Benadryl when somebody has hives or an allergic reaction and we need to get them started on something. But for your daily allergies, if my allergies run from February to June, I can't be on antihistamines every day. So then I go to the corticosteroids. The corticosteroid options, like you have your Flonase or your Rhinocort or these nasal sprays, which actually work really well for me because I'm spraying it into the area that needs to be less reactive to allergies. For my allergies, it's mostly in the head. If you're having like itching and eczema and other things, well, then you're going to need something more systemic like a pill. But like the nasal steroids, I think work really, really well for your local respiratory issues. But the problem is it's really dry and it could dry you out and then you could start having nosebleeds. So my doctor eventually said, why don't we just do a Kenalog shot? Now, a Kenalog shot is where you get 40 milligrams in your butt. And it used to, for me, help get me through the whole season. Now, we don't usually recommend people get a high dose of a steroid, like 40 milligrams of Kenalog, if you have high blood pressure or diabetes or kidney disease or liver disease. It's not for everybody. But if you don't have those medical issues like me, thank God, it provides some relief. And gosh, my knees. You notice I haven't really been complaining about my knees too much. Yeah, but the thing is, you can't do that long term. I'm still getting breakthrough allergies, but without that, I would have really been suffering. For those of you that suffer from asthma or COPD or chronic bronchitis or chronic sinus infections, you really want to curb the allergies. And for those of you listening in other parts of the country, like New York or Michigan and Minnesota and all, we love all our listeners that listen across the country as well as our Canadian. We've got some good Canadian listeners. Even if you're not in allergy season yet, this is the time to get started on your allergy medicine. So let's say you do really like the nasal corticosteroids. You need to start those 2 weeks prior because it needs about 2 weeks to build up. Because a lot of people say, Dr. Dahlia, yeah, I had bad allergies, so I went to the store, I got the nasal spray, it did nothing. Well, it's not going to act like Afrin, which vasoconstricts, which is not something we recommend you do because it could raise your blood pressure and you could get addicted and dependent on it. But the Flonase starts to build up a level of steroid to decrease inflammation. It takes about a week or two. So for those of you, who are like, I get bad allergies, talk to your medical provider. They'll talk to you about what the safest thing to do is, okay? 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
We're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So, what's going on in Iran is, I think, as expected. All right. I think Iran is showing some desperation. But the problem that I think the Trump administration is having is somehow the media of the world thought this was only going to be like a 12-day operation. And it is going to take longer. This wasn't just, we're going to just try to, hit their nukes and or their nuclear facilities and demolish their ability to make a nuclear weapon. This is a regime change, and to, try to I guess decompose or destruct or deconstruct, a regime that's been around for decades. And so it's not going to be quick. And you keep hearing people go, well, wait a second, isn't the Iran issue supposed to be over by now? And yeah, it's pronounced Iran. I apologize if I ever say Iran. It is pronounced Iran. So we'll try to still honor that. But the regime, they can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. I can't stand the regime and what they've done, and they need to go. But what Iran is doing is trying to, I guess, play whatever cards they have. So Iran's new supreme leader is the son of the Ayatollah, and he is closing the Strait of Hormuz and wanting to disrupt, I guess, global energy supplies and tick off their neighbors. So the Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei said that the critical Strait of Hormuz is going to remain essentially closed, use it as a, quote, tool of pressure. And they say Iran's neighbors are being targeted due to U.S. bases. Now, we know that Iran has been targeting, their neighbors, Bahrain, UAE, Saudi Arabia. So I'm not sure what they're talking about that. So the International Energy Agency says the world is facing the largest supply disruption in the history of the global market. There's, soaring oil prices. It could affect energy costs. And from what we understand, Trump is opening up millions of reserves of oil. Sadly, Biden depleted a lot of them, but Trump is opening up oil reserves in order to keep our, levels where they need to be. But the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operation said a container ship was struck by an unknown projectile 35 nautical miles northwest of Dubai and Jebel Ali in the United Arab Emirates. And so now it's not only affecting oil, but it's affecting cargo ships. They said the incident happened after a projectile hit a Thai-flagged cargo ship off the coast of Oman in the Strait of Hormuz, setting it on fire. So President Donald Trump has warned of consequences if Iran acts to stop the transport of oil in the Strait of Hormuz. Some things that they have floated, some ideas, is that the Navy will escort ships that need to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Listen, I know that many people are frustrated and they're saying, well, gosh, now we're drawn into this war and we're, and one of the reasons why this seemed to be, shall we say, sold as a very limited, quick operation is because if Trump did want to declare war, then, and enter into a war and a very prolonged conflict, he would have had to get permission from Congress. Instead, he wanted to, with the intelligence they had and the strategic sites that they knew they could bomb, they thought this is something that they could do fairly quickly. But by quickly, I mean, quickly, it could still be a few weeks. And if this does end in a few weeks, that will be quick compared to other conflicts and compared to dismantling other regimes. It took a lot longer for the Roman Empire to dismantle. So I'm not that surprised by that. I'm not surprised that oil prices are going up. I don't want to see casualties. It's interesting how Democrats want us to be patient as it pertains to climate change and as it pertains to all sorts of things, yet they have no patience as it pertains to Iran and helping these thousands of Iranians fight for their freedom, helping America not get attacked anymore, as Iran has been killing Americans for decades. This is something that had to be done. Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates reported being targeted by attacks on Thursday. They are getting missiles and drones. Bahrain said the Iranian aggression has targeted fuel tanks. And so Iran's, I guess, the message is, okay, well, if you're siding with America, we go after you. And I think these other countries are like, really, really, please, shoo fly. So there are, I guess, reports that of a potential Iranian revenge plot involving drones. There was a report that there might be an attack in California that is being investigated. Of course, we're concerned about sleeper cells inside the United States that were able to get through over the past few decades, especially during the Biden years. And so Operation Epic Fury is going to definitely go down in the books as something that was, I guess, a long time coming. This wasn't an impulsive decision. This was something where it took years of Israeli intelligence as well as American intelligence. We know this, but what are we going to do about it? We're seeing them rebuild. We're seeing, and so Operation Epic Fury sounds like it was just at the drop of the hat, but it's not. This was something that was a long time coming. But Trump is saying that Iran's regime is losing air capability. We are concerned about some of these, these missiles that have been going into Israel. That are hitting civilians. When America and Israel strikes, I mean, they are striking military targets. Sadly, there has been a school that has gotten hit, and we're being told that the school that got hit might have been as a result of old intelligence. I can't confirm that, but we know in what we saw with Hamas that they would hide in hospitals, hide behind schools so that they wouldn't get targeted because they know Israel and America do not want to target civilians. But unfortunately, unfortunately, Iran doesn't have that same care for civilians. And so now Iran has fired these cluster munitions. Cluster munitions have been widely banned because these cluster munitions don't pinpoint strategic military sites. They will hit multiple random areas. And so unfortunately, multiple, of these cluster missiles, they're also hard for the Iron Dome to thwart. They can still, the Iron Dome in Israel is still doing a good job, but unfortunately, these cluster munitions can overwhelm a system. So, it's a war that I am not expecting to be over in 12 days. This is a little bit more advanced. And it's interesting because one of my listeners asked me about the rial. And remember we talked about the Russian ruble, how monopoly money at one time was worth more than the Russian ruble because it fell. And when you looked at the cost of buying monopoly money online, the monopoly money was actually worth more than the Russian ruble. Well, with the Iranian dollar, the rial, the exchange rate, I guess, for U.S. dollar to Iranian rial is like 42,000. It's basically one Iran rial is worth, I guess, a fraction of a percent of a U.S. dollar, whereas one U.S. dollar is worth 42,000 rial. And so people have asked, well, should I get rial to, make money later if the regime, you could. At one time, these rials were pretty, shall we say, valuable. You can't just go and buy Iranian money. I think because of all the sanctions and restrictions, it's difficult to get. Be very careful buying them online. Be very careful. There's a lot of scammers out there. But, if you did, let's say, visit the Middle East and you had that money, you might want to save it because, it's worthless now, but it could go up. I'm just not smart enough. That's something you would have to ask a money show about buying foreign money to see if it goes up or down. We know that the pound versus the American dollar, that has been, people are like, should I keep my pounds? Should I keep my euros? I'm not a financial expert, but the Iranian rial was worth a lot more in, I believe, the 70s and 80s. And so if somebody had Iranian rials, now they're worthless. But that may change, especially with the new regime. So I don't think the money would go away. One of you asked, if the new regime comes in, are they going to come up with new currency? I doubt that. If this is the currency of the country, I mean, how do you get new currency to everybody there? But right now we got bigger things to worry about. But it's a good question nonetheless. The 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
We are back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of my listeners wants me to clarify what's going on as it pertains to, workers' comp and work injuries and ratings. And so, for those of you that have ever sustained a work injury, there's a lot of stress that comes with, one, having an injury, but two, trying to get work to pay for it. And so, and it's not a simple process, and it should be. So how it was supposed to work is you get injured on the job. And in the old days, somebody would try and sue their employer. Well, the employer, if you're a roofer or you're a welder or, the injury happens, these employers will go out of business right away. So workers' comp insurance came into play, where if you do have somebody that gets injured on the job, we have insurance that'll cover you. And then it became mandated, state law, that employers had to have that, because what would end up happening is prior, if an employer wouldn't pay for your medical bills and then you tried to sue and then the employer goes out of business, who's the person that gets screwed? The worker, because they're the one that are injured. They're the ones that are paying for the bills. And so it became law that employers have to have some sort of workers' comp insurance for their employees. Now, if you're a contract worker or gig worker or per diem, you might not, have the same sort of coverage or protections. But usually, if you're injured on the job, and it was work related, the employer is supposed to cover you. But like I said, it kind of can depend if you're not technically an employee. So you want to definitely read the fine line and look that up. But let's say you work at a place, you injure yourself, you're supposed to notify the employer. Are they supposed to fire you? No, they're not supposed to fire you. Can they? Yep. However, they still have to cover the claim. If you injured yourself at work, they have to allow you to fill out the forms, the documentation, and go and seek treatment. Now, what if somebody lies? All right. What if somebody falls at home, really hurts their back, and then they go, oh boy, I'm screwed. I have no health insurance, or my health insurance has a high deductible. Well, then, honey, you better go injure yourself at work so they pay for it. All right. That stuff can be kind of weeded out. Employers and doctors can sometimes figure that out because there has to be a witness. Somebody can't say, yeah, I hurt myself. And they're like, okay, you could document it. Did anybody witness it? What happened? Was a camera on you? And so there may be a need to verify. But, for you having a valid injury where it was obvious you injured yourself at work, they should give you no lip. I mean, they should be, assisting you. Now, some companies actually have a clinic, the specific clinic you go to. Others say our insurance goes through this other insurance, and so these are the hospitals on the list. These are the urgent cares on the list. If, however, let's say you injured yourself at work, now you're like, okay, I'm good. I can walk it off. My knee's fine. My back is fine. Whatever. I can make it home. I think all I have to do is put ice on it. And then you're like, no, I think I really tore something. I think I'm in trouble. If, however, you do need to seek medical care, but you haven't yet notified your employer, and most of the time you need to notify them within 48 to 72 hours. It could be different, depending on different states. Then if you do go and seek medical care, never delay medical care. Just, seek medical care, but save all the receipts and just save all the documentation, because that could always be covered later or reimbursed. So after you, let's say you sprained your knee, all right? And you're like, but it's not the same. I can't walk. Well, the workers' comp clinic or the clinic who is taking care of you for workers' comp may try conservative measures first. Like let's, secure the border. No, conservative measures meaning, let's try, some ice. Let's try some gel, hot, cold gel. Let's try some physical therapy. Let's try resting a little bit, modified duty. They will get you back to work right away, because the science has shown that the longer you're away from work, the harder it is for you to go back to work. So they will allow you to go back to work immediately, but modified duty. They'll give modifications. They'll give restrictions that your boss has to follow by law. If your boss doesn't have light duty or sit down duty, you're a roofer, you're an electrician. If there's not a sit down job, then yes, you might be off work. In terms of pay, to get paid leave, the paid leave would be determined by the workers' comp company if they're going to pay you for your days off. If they find this wasn't work-related, they might not. But if there's sit-down duty or modified duty that you could do, the employer is supposed to give that to you. So now you're going through the motions and you're not getting better. And then the workers' comp doctor says, let's get an orthopedic doctor involved. So now you get an MRI. The orthopedist said, let's see what's going on with the knee. Okay, you tore some meniscus, you sprained yourself. All right, or you tore a ligament. All right, we could try physical therapy, we could try injections, or we could try surgery. Sometimes you need surgery, sometimes you don't. After you go through the treatment, and the doctor will then have to decide, are you at MMI? MMI means maximum medical improvement. Are you plateauing? Are you completely improved? Or is this the best you're going to be? You have an amputation, you had surgery, the flap closed, you're missing your finger, you're not going to get your finger back. So at some point you're at MMI, the maximum medical improvement that can be done based on your injury. And a doctor has to determine that. Otherwise you keep going to the doctor and you're there, the doctor's there. It's like, well, what am I doing? Nothing's changing. So at some point they say, look, you might need to go and follow up with your regular doctor for pain medication or for extra therapy or whatever. We could always reopen the case. But as far as, me as the surgeon, I did the surgery. You don't have to see me anymore. Well, now you're at the point where the case might be closed. So case closure means now the workers' comp company needs to take a look at the information and then get a doctor who's never met you to do a rating. That doctor that does the rating can't like you, can't hate you, can't do anything subjective, and they have to use a book called The Guides. It's like the Bible of disability exams. And then based on the surgery you've had or your range of motion or the type of injury, there's a rating, a percentage that doctor gives that would, I guess, suggest your whole person impairment. You could have an upper extremity impairment. You could have a lower extremity impairment, depending on what you hurt. And let's say you hurt two body parts. You hurt your shoulder and your knee. They combine the upper extremity impairment with the lower extremity impairment, and then you get a whole person impairment. That gets submitted back to the insurance company. The insurance company, based on your salary, based on the percentage, will then pay you compensation or pay you an award, either a lump sum or something that you could take in multiple, over a period of time. If the workers' comp claim said, oh, no way, Dr. Dahlia gave you a 10%, No, I think she's being too nice. What did you say you liked her show? Is that why she did it? Now, technically, you really can't do subjectivity because, I mean, you have proof. This was the surgery they had. This is their range of motion. This is, but and then they might say, you know what, we're going to get a second opinion. Well, the second opinion may say, hey, Dr. Dahlia is not wrong. They're a 10. That's a 10% impairment, and then the workers' comp has to pay you on that. Now, some of you might have noticed that you got a 0. You're struggling, you've had surgery, you've had issues, and your knee's not the same or your back's not the same. Why are you at a 0 impairment and you get no compensation? Because the guides only allows, the guides book only allows certain surgeries to get credit. So, let's say you had, some degenerative meniscus stuff in the knee that needed to get cleaned up, but you didn't necessarily have a meniscectomy. The first surgery might get no credit at all, whereas like a lateral partial meniscectomy may give you a 1%. So many patients are like, I don't understand. The doctor gave me 0. Was he high? I had an injury. My knees are not the same. My shoulders are not the same. It's because the guides determine what you get, and then the workers' comp company has to agree or not. And so I know there's a lot more to talk about. And this was a segment that's ending, but keep your questions coming. We'll answer them as they go. But if at all you're kind of concerned about what's going on, you could always contact a workers' comp attorney to represent you. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia. Don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So we understand that people could be pretty litigious, and we understand that adults get sued and threaten to be sued left and right. Doctors always threaten to be sued, which is why many of them leave. And don't go back to medicine. I've been very fortunate to never be sued by a patient, but it's not fun, and it's pretty traumatizing when you think you're doing a good job and somebody wants to make money, or if you mess up and you're like, maybe I can't do this job. I've been very fortunate, but seeing most of my colleagues sued, not fun. But a first grader being sued. So this is interesting. This is being reported by multiple news outlets. The Daily Caller is talking about this one. But back in 2021, the first grader named BB, all right, I guess was involved in a case that I really think these kids should not have been, in this situation. But unfortunately, it seemed to be something innocent. And BB was a first grader at Viejo Elementary School in Southern California. There was a class lesson on Martin Luther King Jr. And so the first grader decided to draw a picture showing all her friends holding hands because she felt bad that, quote, black people were put in a worse position. So the picture reportedly included, I think like the Black Lives Matter, or it included, I think, the words Black Lives Matter, any life. And then the first grader decided to give it to her black classmate. The classmate's initials were MC. MC thanked her for the drawing. MC takes the drawing home and shows her mom. But the mom was concerned because MC was the only black student in the class. So the mom emailed the school principal, Jesus Becerra, and asked the school to take action. She and her husband would not tolerate any more messages given to our daughter because of her skin color, and that we do not send MC to school with flyers or propaganda. We only send her to school to learn the curriculum, and that's it. Now, allegedly, the girl that drew the picture got in trouble, and that she was barred from recess for 2 weeks and forced to apologize to the student she was trying to make feel better with the picture. She didn't know what Black Lives Matter meant. And she wanted to draw a picture of them all holding hands because she was probably learning in class about the horrible discrimination that this country had done for centuries, and wanted to, show her class. I mean, that was my guess for the intentions. So the child did not tell her parents about what was happening in school. 11 months later, her mom learned of the punishment and subsequently filed a complaint with the school district. The school reportedly denied that there was any evidence to back up the child's claims. And then she got disciplined again. So the mom of the child, the artist, all right, we'll call her, filed a lawsuit in federal court alleging that the punishment was a violation of her daughter's First Amendment rights. Now, you look at this and you go, okay, wait a second. You got two kids sharing a picture. Now, I guess a 3-judge panel of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that, yes, elementary school students do have First Amendment protections. They say we hold that elementary student speech is protected by First Amendment. The age of the students is a relevant factor under Tinker, and schools may restrict student speech only when the restriction is reasonably necessary to protect the safety and well-being of its students. And they reference a 1969 U.S. Supreme Court decision on student speech, Tinker versus Des Moines. So I guess they say that this rule that the school administrators have unchecked authority to punish student speech. And we're going back to this. It was a girl trying to make her other classmate feel better. Now, did the other classmates' parents have a point? Now, I didn't see this picture. I mean, we're hearing that this was all out of love, all out of respect, and it was but the parents might have been like, look, we're reading into this differently, and we want to make sure our child, is not discriminated against. If she's the only black child in class, we want to make sure that she doesn't feel, different or separate. Or I'm not exactly sure what their argument was. But the school decides, well, look, we gotta save our own asses. So let's just punish the girl that was actually making a picture for Black Lives Matter to help the other child. It's insane to think that this is what's going on and that the child got punished. So what are these children thinking? It's interesting. We, as adults, we don't really learn, except for those of us in medical school or psychology or in teaching, what exactly is going through the mind of an average 6-year-old. So the 6-year-old loses recess for drawing a picture about love and camaraderie after they were taught about Martin Luther King. The child is going to be very, very confused. Now, Martin Luther King, I mean, he did so much, and there were many demonstrations of his wanting to unite. Children are getting inspired by Martin Luther King, so they want to unite. They want to do something. So the child can't form a walk or a peaceful assembly. So the child decides, I'm going to draw a picture because that really hit home with me. It's a beautiful thing. But maybe what teachers now have to do, I mean, if this is now setting legal precedents where even though the child has protection and it went the child's way, but if they don't want to get sued by the family whose daughter received the said picture, maybe what they have to do is say, look, guys, okay, I understand, we're teaching you something that's very powerful, and you guys are going to want to go out there and do something. So here is an option. If you guys feel like you want to do something, and maybe they have to, have it so controlled. But, this kid wanted to express herself in a picture, and the other child thanked her. And so it was a sign that the two children were bonding, and they were both, probably really blown away by what they were learning. And I'm glad they're teaching about the teachings of Martin Luther King in first grade. I think that's appropriate. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's a good part of the curriculum. But if kids are going to be damned if you do, damned if you don't, they're going to be confused. So, a 6-year-old child is going to be thinking, I can't give a picture to another student. I can't draw a picture to another student for another student. Even though the courts went back and forth with this, and now the child's in the 4th grade? But they're going to be like, wait a second. I think I'll just keep my thoughts to myself. I think I won't extend a hand, either illustratively or, literally. And that's not what we want our kids to do. I remember in class we had debate, and the teacher would come up with, pretty controversial topics. And they would say, how do you feel about this? I'm like, I don't know much about it, but I think I feel this way. How do you feel about it? Okay, good. You guys switch sides. Now you need to defend the side that you might not agree with. And I'm like, well, I really don't know much about it. And now I have to defend it. But that was a good exercise on seeing both sides and making an argument, and understanding both, it's like you can't talk about anything, I guess. So it's interesting case. 1-877 Dr. Dolly.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.